Sunday Live with Jeff Koinange and Olive Barrows.
A very good evening to you. Thank you for taking the time to join myself and Emmanuel Ndongo on Citizen Sunday Live, the last Sunday of the year.
I know, it's gone quick, hasn't it?
It's flown. I can't even believe Christmas is already done with, although we still have the tree up with the baubles.
Yeah, some few decorations here still. But yes, my name is Emmanuel Ndongo. I'll be taking you through the sports news a little bit later on. We have a feature story on the upcoming Talanta Stadium, and of course, AFCON is still raging on, so we'll have some updates on that as well.
Draw yesterday, Tanzania, Uganda. You'll have to explain to me how they got there and we didn't.
Yes, we'll get into that, but It's a long story.
All right. And we have my story coming up tonight. It is Seth Olale. He tells us about covering Raila's bid at the African Union Commission in Addis Ababa. So do stay tuned because we have plenty coming up, including what you'll see in these highlights. Deadly Gong clash. Police officer killed, scores injured as Kibiko land row in Gong turns violent.
Our call for leadership, both within the church, in the private sector, but also in government, is that we must endeavor to live up to what Jesus Christ, who we've just celebrated, came to do.
Celebrating last Sunday of 2025. Kenyans throng worship centers as they reflect and hope for a better year ahead.
We are going to negotiate an arrangement where we are now part and parcel of the government. As of now, we are in a broad-based arrangement.
Battle for ODM leadership. Odinga vows to maintain ODM leadership even as Infotrak poll tips Babu Owino as next walking pin. More deaths on the road. Death toll from road accidents climbs to 40 in 5 days after 4 members of a family perish at Turbi in Marsabit. Tension remains high in the Kibiko area in Gong following violent clashes between police officers and 2 rival factions of the Konyoike Community Trust. The unrest, which erupted on Christmas Day, claimed the life of a police officer, left scores of people injured and so property destroyed. The violence marks a sharp escalation of a long-running dispute over a 2,800-acre parcel of land, with the 2 factions locked in a protracted battle over ownership and leadership of the trust. Authorities have since heightened security in the area, as you'll hear now from Citizen TV's Ben Kirwe.
Amateur footage captured by residents on Christmas Day paints a grim picture of the escalating land dispute in Kibiko, Kajiado County. The unrest centers on a contested 2,800-acre parcel of land claimed by 2 rival factions of the Konyoike Community Trust, each asserting legal leadership over the property. The dispute turned violent as police oversaw the ongoing land subdivision exercise. One police officer identified as Ethan Wafula was killed after he was attacked while overseeing. Several civilians were injured in the clashes, and at least 2 motorcycles were set ablaze. Among the injured is Agnes Kimer, who sustained chest injuries after being hit by a rubber bullet. She accuses the rival faction led by Moses Monique of illegally spearheading the subdivision of land where her family has lived for years.
The bullet hit me as I was trying to rescue children and pleading with the officers not to harm our children.
However, the opposing faction under the leadership of Moses Monique maintains that it is the legally recognized leadership, duly sanctioned by the government to oversee the subdivision process and issue title deeds to legitimate members. Monique alleges that those opposing the exercise sold their shares to outsiders many years ago, but insists that no genuine member will be evicted or denied their rightful allocation.
Sisi ni kupigwa hapa. Ile kitu anasema eti watu wameuliwa. Hajazungumzia ya gari ambayo ilichomwa. Wakati gari ilichomwa hajazungumzia. Wakati pasta alipigwa hakuzungumziwa. Wakati ule mtoto ambaye alipigwa ICU amekaa mwezi mmoja hakuzungumzia.
At the heart of the conflict is the subdivision of the 2,800-acre tract of land, estimated to be worth over 100 billion shillings. Prolonged leadership wrangles have pitted the two factions against each other for years, occasionally spilling into violence. Following the Christmas Day chaos, 7 suspects were arrested and are currently in police custody, awaiting arraignment in court on Monday. Police say some of the youths involved in the violence were armed with arrows, spears and other crude weapons, and are suspected to have been working in collusion with a section of local leaders opposed to the subdivision. 2 motorcycle riders were attacked and injured after their bikes were torched, and they are currently receiving treatment in various hospitals. Security has since been heightened in the area as authorities vow to ensure the land beaconing and subdivision process continues uninterrupted. Ben Kirui, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
100 billion shillings, what a value. Kenyans across the country marked the last Sunday of the year with worship, quiet reflection and hope for a new year, with the clergy calling for a toning down of the political rhetoric in the coming new year. Kenyans reflected on a year of mixed fortunes and projected their hopes for greater government accountability and the provision of opportunities. Brenda Wanga reports.
As the sun set on the final Sunday of the year, a palpable sense of reflection and hope filled the air across Kenya. In churches big and small, Kenyans gathered, not just for worship, but to collectively pause, look back at the journey almost completed, and cast their aspirations towards the horizon of a new year. Here at the Holy Family Basilica in Nairobi, the mood was one of quiet contemplation and shared community. Families sat together, friends exchanged knowing glances, all united in the timeless ritual of year-end reflection.
Tukuwe na matarajio mema kwa hii mwaka tunaanza, na tunaomba mwaka ujayo as tukiendelea kujitayarisha katika uchaguzi wetu.
Sasa hii ni ngumu sana. Ukiangalia katika wafanyikazi wa serikali, pesa ambao walikuwa wanapata ili kuweza kusaidia jamii zao, yote ameenda akaleta SHA, inakata pesa mingi, katika housing inakata pesa mingi.
The year is coming to an end. We have seen great achievements in the education sector, great milestones achieved. We are looking forward to a smooth transition of junior secondary to the pioneer class of senior secondary. We are hoping that there will be enough teachers, enough infrastructure to have them settle in well.
From the pews in Nairobi to the congregations in Nyamira and Machakos, the feeling was the same. The year 2025 came with its fair share of challenges and opportunities.
You have all the time heard that a vehicle has got an accident. I want to believe next year it will be much better because the road should be put in place. We want also the government of Kenya to put keen and see what is the cause of the problem in our roads.
The church leadership taking it back to the basics, respect for human rights, especially during the marking of the anniversary of the anti-finance bill protests, as well as an affront to freedom of worship.
As a church, our call for leadership, both within the church, in the private sector, but also in government, is that we must endeavor to live up to what Jesus Christ, who we've just celebrated, came to do, was to bring peace. Because Christmas is about peace, and that peace is about reconciliation within families.
Our prayer passionately as a church is that the Lord is going to keep us as one people, as one nation. And we challenge the politicians who will be vying for various seats, who are coming up to us as an electorate, that they will not use our young people as opportunities as the tokens for their success.
As the final hymns filled churches and prayers for the new year were whispered, there was a sense of renewed hope, a hope that the coming year would bring not just personal blessings, but also a collective step forward for Kenya towards greater unity, understanding, and prosperity. And with the new year just 3 days away, Kenyans are preparing to bid farewell to the old and with open hearts embrace the promise of a new beginning. Brenda Wanga, Citizen TV.
What are you praying for in the new year? Talk to us. You can talk to us on @Citizen TV Kenya. My X handle is @OBarrows. If you'd prefer, you can also post and tag @Emmanuel ND. That is for Emmanuel Ndongo. The hashtag is Citizen Sunday Live. You can also send us an SMS 22422, and they're all scrolling right there on the bottom of your screen. Now, one of the things I'm praying for in the new year is that we'll have less road carnage. 4 members of the same family have died following a tragic road accident along the Marsabit-Moyale Highway. This brings to 40 the number of those who have died over the last 5 days. 4 other people were also injured in the accident that occurred at the Kuku Farm area, a short distance from Tarbi Ward along the Moyale-Marsabit Highway. The accident, which occurred at around 5 p.m. on Saturday evening, involved 2 private vehicles, a Toyota Prado and a small Jetua vehicle. Confirming the incident, Turbi Sub-County Police Commander Daniel Parmwat said those injured are currently receiving treatment in hospital. A poll indicates that President William Ruto is the most preferred 2027 presidential candidate, according to InfoTrack, and those results were released today. The poll shows that none of all the presidential hopefuls will get a resounding round 1 win if elections were held today. As you'll hear now from Stephen Leto, the InfoTrack report shows that Embakasi East Member of Parliament Babu Owino is the perceived frontrunner to succeed the late Raila Odinga.
Karibu sana Mheshimiwa Rais.
With the death of Raila Odinga opening a succession battle, the party officials have been polling in direction on what next for the party. Despite Party National Executive Council having endorsed Raila's elder brother Oburu Oginga as his successor, there has been disquiet within the party. In a bid to hold the party together and benefit from the party electoral bloc, President William Ruto has been making several trips to the Nyanza region, urging the party members to remain united behind Oburu. However, a poll conducted by InfoTrack on 19th and 20th of December and released today in all the 47 counties and 8 regions shows that the battle for the leadership is far from over, with those in the survey noting that Embakasi East MP Babu Owino is the most perceived to be the successor of Raila Odinga, with ODM party leader Oburu Oginga and ODM chairperson and Homa Bay Governor Gladys Wanga coming in second and third respectively. Contrary to an earlier TIFA poll, which showed ODM as the most popular political party, President William Ruto's UDA party is now the most popular party among Kenyans with a 23% approval rating. The ODM party coming in second with a 19% endorsement from the Kenyans. Rigathi Gachagwa's DCP party, Jubilee party and Wiper party all have approval rating of below 10%. A combination of ODM and UDA, the broad-based government have an approval rating of 32%, an increase from 25% in the month of August. The United Opposition popularity has also increased from 18% to 22% during the same period. Kenya Moja Alliance, comprising of Kiharu MP Ndindi Nyoro, Edwin Sifuna, Gathoni wa Mushomba, Babu Owino and George Natembea have also had its popularity shoot up from 13% to 17% during the same period. In the InfoTrack poll, President William Ruto's popularity that had declined to 19% in September has now shot to 28%, making him the most preferred candidate if elections were to be held today. Dr. Fred Matiang'i, who was second in August at 15%, has seen his popularity drop to 13% in December. Kalonzo Musyoka's popularity has equally increased from 8% in August to 12% in December. For Embakasi East lawmaker Babu Owino, his presidential popularity has gone up from 3% in August to 7% in December. The poll also shows that 46% of Kenyans say they will take keen interest on the cost of living when they go to the ballot, while others will look at the fight against corruption, health services provision, education, and youth employment. Infotrack poll shows that 31% of Kenyans have no faith in the IEBC, while only 8% of Kenyans believe that IEBC will deliver a free, fair and credible elections. Stephen Leto, Citizen TV.
ODM party leader Dr. Oburu Odinga has said that he will issue a directive on how the party will engage with President William Ruto's UDA in the 2027 formations. Speaking in Siaya County, Oburu reiterated that the party has not signed any coalition agreement and that it is in the process of strengthening its membership before engaging in any form of negotiations. With that report is Laura Otieno.
While slamming those he said are detractors undermining his leadership within the party, ODM leader Oburu Oginga said that he will outline the course for the Orange Party, expressing confidence in getting prime positions in the next dispensation. Oginga rallying support for the broad-based arrangement, which he said bears the hallmark of ODM values, that of service to the people.
We are going to negotiate an arrangement where we are now part and parcel of the government. As of now, we are in a broad-based arrangement, which is not yet a coalition in the government.
As we begin 2026, I want to plead with you to take charge and lead us in negotiations between ODM and the UDA, so that we can enter into a pre-election agreement as soon as possible. If you have to walk, let us watch the steps of Dr. Oburu Odinga. Hii kelele yote tunasikia hapa na pale, ikome mara moja.
On his part, PS for Internal Security Raymond Omolo also called on Kenyans to support the current regime, which he said is working to implement projects aimed at dignifying the lives of the people.
This is your government, these are your leaders, and we must support them, because through this good leadership, we are seeing all the benefits, and we can count everything that is going on, not just in Siaya County, but in the entire country.
The leaders were speaking at a Widows Empowerment Forum in Siaya County. Laura Otieno, Citizen TV.
President William Ruto has moved to allay fears over the transition to senior school, assuring parents that all learners eligible for grade 10 will secure places, and that is by the time the first cohort reports in January. Speaking in Narok County, the president said the government has released 44 billion shillings to ensure a smooth transition under the competency-based education system. Here now is Jasmine Wamboi with the details.
Nasema tuunganishe shangwe na vigelegele ya Mheshimiwa Rais na timu yake katika jina la Yesu.
Speaking during a church service at Rutian in Narok North constituency, President William Ruto says the government has released 44 billion shillings to facilitate the transition of about 1.1 million learners from junior to senior school. The president says the funds were disbursed earlier this week and will reach schools before learners report.
I want to assure parents across the Republic of Kenya and all other stakeholders that we have made adequate arrangements. Every child, the 1.13 million children in Kenya, each of them has a place to go to in senior school. Hakuna mtoto hata moja atakosa nafasi ya kwenda katika shule ya senior school ama secondary school ikifika Januari.
Babu ya muda, asante sana.
The president also says that the government has intensified investment in teachers and infrastructure to support the transition.
Tumeajiri waalimu, kufikia Januari itakuwa waalimu 100,000. Tumejenga madarasa 23,000. Tutakamilisha mahabara ama laboratories 1,600 kufikia mwezi wa 3 mwaka huu.
President Ruto also dismissing recent claims that the education budget has been reduced, saying the government remains committed to education reforms.
Na hakuna pesa imepunguzwa ya kusomesha watoto wetu. Hawa watu wanaongea hapa, nimesikia wanajaribu kuongea. Wapeleke siasa mbali. Sijui kama tunaelewana. Wawachane na watoto ya Kenya. Watoto wa Kenya ni watoto wetu, and tumefanya reform ya kutosha.
The president also defended the establishment of both the National Infrastructure Fund and the Sovereign Wealth Fund, saying this will be critical in mobilizing resources to accelerate the country's development. Jasmine Wambui, Citizen TV.
All right, I want to invite you to sit tight because on the other side of this break, as promised, we have Seth Olale's My Story, and we also have this coming up. Coming up, body of late Lugari MP Cyrus Jirongo arrives in Kitale for a night vigil. Thank you for staying with us on Citizen Sunday Live. The late Prime Minister Raila Odinga's Africa Union Commission chairmanship bid is among key highlights that defined the year 2025. The February 15th continental elections held at the AU headquarters in Addis Ababa literally became the focus of the country's political agenda. 7 months later, 15th October 2025, Raila Odinga passed on, bringing to an end his charismatic and influential political career. In our My Year series tonight, Citizen TV's senior reporter Seth Olale revisits late Raila Odinga's journey to the AU in Addis Ababa to his final resting place at the Kango Kajaramogi Bondo, Siaya County.
Wakenya wanatarajia mengi kutoka Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. Tuna wenzetu Seth Olale, Olive Barros na Stephen Leto ambao watatupatia taarifa kamili kutoka Ethiopia kule ambapo marais wamejumuika.
There was a lot of movement from the Kenya side where we had President William Ruto exit and enter the chamber several times.
Kwa na Stephen Leto na Seth Olale Ethiopia, lakini naona kwamba imerudi tuwasikilize wanachokizungumza.
Kwa hivyo hebu tuangalie makarani wetu wanasemaje, manake makarani wamekuwa very busy.
This particular assignment was a high-stake, high-level. Actually, the local politics had come, to a halt because now focus was on AUC.
They sent the former president of Nigeria, His Excellency Olusegun Obasanjo, to come and approach me to see if I would be willing. And after soul searching, I agreed.
And that is the launch of the Raila Odinga for AUC chairmanship.
We were all confined, at the media center, and so it was very busy. everyone running around just trying to get the moment. So this is the media center of the Africa Union. This is where dozens and dozens of journalists camp here just to file their stories on time. And it has been an incredible week of intense editing. And we also have a sound booth at the end of this particular building. This is where the action has been taking place. This had been now the epic, the climax following, a year-long campaign period for the candidates who had been cleared by the Africa Union Commission Secretariat. We were able to set up our open-air studio just within the Africa Union Commission, where we did our live links across all the rural media services stations, but also we were doing also some interviews. Just 2 days before the D-Day, that is February 15th, the election, President William Ruto arrived with a delegation that had very senior state officers, including the head of the National Intelligence Service, that was Nurdin Haji, and other high profile government officials, including the Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi. There were also, politicians, members of parliament that had come. There were governors. Ordinary Kenyans had also gathered, outside the Africa Union Commission headquarters because they were not accredited, and they were singing, dancing.
Tunakupenda sana Afrika mzima, tunakupenda sana. Utatuongoza vyema, utaongoza vyema. Afrika mzima, utaongoza vyema. Tawala Raila, tawala. Tawala Raila, tawala. Afrika mzima, tawala Raila, tawala.
Remember, just the day before the election, the head of state, President William Ruto, was really busy shuttling from, one continental engagement to another. There was a lot of, lobbying going on the sidelines, behind the scenes. And also at that particular moment, I remember having engagements with the Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi and the Principal Secretary for Foreign Affairs, that is Dr. Sing'oei Korir, who actually, was upbeat that, Kenya has done a tremendous job in as far as preparing the candidates, the late former Prime Minister, and they were looking forward to a very successful election outcome. On the election day, President William Ruto arrived in the same presidential limousine with Kenya's candidate, the late Raila Odinga, at the Nelson Mandela plenary.
Can I media? The president's media. President, Kenya's media? Kenya's media? No media. Alas, finish. Now wait till they enter.
So everyone was busy. The journalists were trying to get a glimpse of, the candidates, the three of them, even as they made their way to the Nelson Mandela Hall or plenary, where the voting exercise was just about to get underway. The stakes were high. There was a lot of anxiety, expectations. We camped the entire day getting these rival shots.
Quite interesting here because we have the Djibouti AUC candidate, Mr. Mohamed Yusuf. Quite an interesting and important day for you, sir.
Yeah, it's a great day.
What do you want to tell, members of the African Union?
Good luck to everyone.
Good luck to everyone. That is the Djibouti African Union Commission candidate. That is Mr. Mohamed Yusuf.
The African Union Commission chairperson who will be elected, either Raila Odinga, Richard Randriamandrato or Mahmoud Ali will chair the commission and will have his secretariat.
Looking at his face, he looks bright and he looks, lobbying, doing a last-minute lobbying. And of course we are hoping the last-minute lobbying could give Raila Odinga, an upper hand. You took some notes. You were very busy on your laptop. What did you gather out of this, Olive?
A lot was said. Internationally, if you look at the Palestinian situation.
When the election was ongoing inside the Nelson Mandela plenary, we had sources who we had established and they kept on relaying the results. And I remember we were live with my colleague Stephen Leto in Addis giving updated results and information in regards to what was happening just right behind us inside the plenary.
Kulingana na yale ambayo tumepata, raundi ya kwanza Raila Odinga ameongoza kwa kura 20. Raundi ya pili Raila Odinga ameongoza kwa kura 22. Kisha tuna sasa raundi ya tatu ambayo tunangoja, tushapokea matokeo lakini tunangoja verification. Yani manake sisi tunataka kwamba matokeo ambayo tunakudondolea hapa kutoka makao makuu ya AUC hapa nje ya ukumbi wa Nelson Mandela plenary ni matokeo ambayo yamepitiwa si mara moja, si mara mbili, si mara tatu, bali yamepitiwa na asasi tofauti kuhakikisha kwamba tumepata ile tunaita the correct, sijui kwa sababu Ramogi pia wanatutizama, sijui kwa Ramogi utaitaje the correct information. Kaka Otimore. Yani tunataka Kaka Otimore.
Unfortunately that was short-lived. Because later on it is the Djibouti candidate who carried the day.
Mtazamaji, ni taarifa ambayo inakujia hivi sasa ni kwamba Raila Amolo Odinga amepoteza. The Kenya's candidate for the chairperson of the African Union Commission has lost the African Union race.
The late Raila Amolo Odinga came out of that plenary looking somehow calm, relaxed, and in fact, even the speech he gave, the short speech he gave afterward, where he, at the moment, he conceded defeat.
And therefore, myself conceding defeat, and I want us to use this as an example of strengthening democracy in our continent.
Pucha, come, follow me. Pucha, come. William, come. No.
Already there was an after party that had been organized in honor of the late Raila Odinga.
You really took me back, Seth Olale. Remember, you can rewatch his report on our YouTube channel. You can comment at Citizen TV Kenya on Facebook and X, citizen.digital on TikTok. You can SMS us on 22422. What do you remember about that time? Now, the body of former Lugari Member of Parliament and prominent politician, the late Cyrus Jirongo, has arrived at his Kitale home, where family, friends and leaders paid their last respects ahead of its transfer on Monday to Lumakanda, Lugari for burial scheduled on Tuesday. Leaders present called on police to fast-track investigations into the road accident that led to his death, saying the family deserves justice and clear answers. They also noted that the late Jirongo will be laid to rest in accordance with the cultural traditions of the Tiriki community.
What we are urging is complete and thorough investigations so that we can get closure. Just to know the exact timeline from where he was last and how he ended up where he was involved in that accident.
We are not going to leave it lying. And that's why people are mentioning of torch. People are threatened by torch. Just a simple torch. People cannot even appear here because they are fearing the torch.
Kama serikali haitafanya yale ambayo familia imeuliza, basi familia watachukua haya mambo mikononi mwao vile wamesema. Wazee wa Tiriki watafanya kimila yao. Nasikia kuna wengine wanaogopa sana wakisikia mambo ya tochi. Lakini sisi tuko tunasema tutasimama na familia.
A family in Changamwe, Mombasa County is searching for their kin who was allegedly abducted by men believed to be police officers. Harrison Nyamu was allegedly picked up by armed and masked men who stormed his home, assaulted the family before driving away with him. Francis Mtalaki reports.
On Christmas Eve at around 8 p.m., Harrison Nyamu, his wife Leah Mwanginjeri and their 2 children were making final plans for a family outing to celebrate Christmas at the beach. But their plan was cut short when armed and masked men invaded their home, ordering them to lie down at gunpoint.
Tukaona tutu wameingia wamekoka wamesema lala chini. Edu akalazwa jikoni, Jelen akapelekwa chooni, mimi nikapelekwa bedroom. Mzee wangu akalazwa hapo akaanza kumpigia hapo. The family claims they were brutally assaulted by the group believed to be police officers. Leah says she sustained injuries at her right arm after being struck with what she believes was a gun. Despite her repeated plea with the armed men not to take her husband, who is suffering from a kidney disease, are on dialysis, the hooded men forced Nyamu into a waiting vehicle and drove away. Wakasema ni mgonjwa wapi, nikamwambia huyu ni mgonjwa ako na shida ya figo na anafanyangwa dialysis na hii ni catheter na mkimpiga hivyo mtamharibu. Wakamuinua wakamwambia aende, alikuwa hana hata nguo, ni kinyasa peke yake.
So we are appealing to whoever has
Harrison to release him immediately. If he has committed any wrong, then follow due process and present him before a court of law tomorrow, or make sure he gets his medication.
Nyamu's whereabouts remain a mystery, as he is not at any of the police stations, including Changamwe, Central, Port Police, and the Coast Regional Police Headquarters. The family also claims phones and money were taken during the raid.
Wakaingia wakanipata nimeshika simu yangu, wakachukua simu yake. Kuna simu ndogo ya watoto wa Bambe wakachukua pale kwa mesa. Kulikuwa na 1200 pia wakachukua.
Kwanza baadaye walituambia tusonge tukue mbali. Tukatoka tukakuja hii pande nyingine. Sasa tuko tunaangalia tukio tu tukitazama nini kinaendelea kule.
Kuchukua watu kwa nguvu na kupiga wale ambao wako kwenye hizo nyumba ni jambo ambalo sio la kisheria, ni jambo ambalo ni haramu na ni jambo ambalo linafaa likemewe na kusitishwa haraka iwezekanavyo.
Human rights activists in Mombasa are now demanding an explanation from security agencies on the whereabouts of Harrison Nyamu. Francis Mtalaki, Citizen TV, Mombasa.
Israel's recognition of Somaliland as an independent and sovereign state on Boxing Day has continued to rattle the international community. At an emergency joint session of Parliament on Sunday, Somalia's President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud referred to Israel as an enemy. Meanwhile, the United Nations Security Council is scheduled to hold an emergency sitting over the same on Monday, the Arab League of Nations having done so on Sunday. The East African community is the latest to condemn the action after President Hassan Mohamud held phone calls with President Ismail Gule of Djibouti, President William Ruto of Kenya, President Kaguta Museveni of Uganda, and President Samia Suluhu of Tanzania on Saturday. EAC aligning itself with the statement released by the African Union on Friday when the chairperson of the Commission, Mahmoud Ali Yusuf, rejected the recognition of Somaliland as an independent state. The Intergovernmental Authority on Development, IGAD, has in the meantime called for dialogue between the federal government of Somalia and Somaliland. Similar sentiments have been shared by the European Union, which has called for meaningful dialogue between Somaliland and the federal government of Somalia to resolve long-standing differences. Other African states, such as Nigeria, joined the Arab League of Nations on Saturday in warning that Israel's actions set a dangerous precedent and contravene international law, warning of, quote, serious repercussions of such unprecedented measure on peace and security in the Horn of Africa, the Red Sea, and its serious effects on international peace and security as a whole, which also reflects Israel's full and blatant disregard to international law. They continue to, quote, reject any potential link between such measure and any attempts to forcibly expel the Palestinian people out of their land. It's around that time where some people eat their supper early, some people eat their supper a little bit later. Since we're in the holidays, I'm assuming some of you are having it a little bit later in the night. I wonder, would you consider crickets in your food? Well, we have that report coming up on the other side of this break. Cricket Value Addition. We will tell you why cricket rearing is gaining popularity in Kenya. Into flour and used to make pastries such as cookies and the much-loved chapo, helping overcome the stigma around eating insects. Laura Otieno reports on the chopping champions using value addition to tackle the nutritional crisis, one cookie at a time.
Since the holidays began, this has been the routine for Maureen Odera. Each morning, the sound of her hand mixer pierces through her bakery as she prepares orders for families sourcing sweet treats for this festive season. On her work table, a bowl of brown powder sits aside. This is powdered cricket. Insects that only a few weeks ago were chirping in rearing trays, now ready to be folded into cookie dough.
I thought it wise to incorporate cricket into my flour so that I can come up with a super product called cricket cookies. Sababu gani? Unapata kwamba watoto wanakula but their food is not well balanced. But cricket has a lot of nutrients.
Commercial rearing of crickets began in Kenya in 2012 as part of an initiative to provide sustainable, protein-rich food options.
Even if that soil was rich.
Before then, extensive research by local universities and the International Center of Insect Physiology and Ecology explored the potential of insects as alternative sources of nutrition. More than 1 decade later, however, crickets, like many other edible insects, are yet to become a common delicacy on Kenyan plates.
Some people think probably because insects come from the soil, it's forbidden. Some things have to do with cultural issues and perspectives. But I think if people are educated well enough and told the importance and the nutritious value of those insects, and probably a bit of value addition is done so that they can be presented really well, I think people can really embrace it as an alternative protein. Wow.
Nutritionists say that crickets pack up to 70 grams of protein for every 100 grams of dried cricket, iron, calcium, as well as vitamin B12, which is 10 times higher the content of beef. To canvass the phobia associated with eating crickets,
it's not really soft.
Bread, chapati, and cookies are gaining traction as an alternative form of consuming crickets.
So when you wanaogopa dudu, hautaiona. It is inside there, wameshaga kabisa, and then it is mixed with the flour, and you don't feel it. It is so sweet.
You can mix it with porridge, and then you take it. It enhances a lot of, it gives you a lot of energy in your body when you take that porridge mixed with cricket powder.
1 kilogram of dried cricket costs about 3,000 shillings. This driving up the cost of the finished product compared to ordinary cookies that retail for 50 shillings for a packet of 12.
You find that a can of a cookie goes at 300 shillings. So it is only favorable to high-end clients. But we are also working hard on how to bring it down so that local mwananchi can also be in a position to purchase it.
The nutrient categories it has also very good fat, healthy fats. It has omega-3 that helps in the brain development. And we know brain development starts when the mother is pregnant, up to when the child is 6 years old. And then it also has calcium for development of bones and strengthening of bones. So it will help both the mothers, the pregnant mothers, and also children when they start complementary feeding at 6 months and when they're being given those foods that are fortified with cricket.
From being what many consider a nuisance, crickets are slowly but surely claiming their space in the nutritional world. The chops, silenced by the drying, grinding and baking, becoming what could be the next frontier in protein consumption, not only in Kenya but across the region. Laura Otieno, Citizen TV.
So sign language interpreter Liz Otieno says she would be very ready to have those crickets with ugali. Would you? I'd be happy to have them as a snack, but maybe dried, not, they didn't look too appetizing when they were moving around in those two Yeah, in those trays, but maybe deep fried, you know? Try it. A section of Kaya Fungo elders have opposed the installation of former Matuga Member of Parliament Chirao Ali Mwakwere as the Mijikenda spokesperson. The elders, drawn from Kaya Fungo, say they were not consulted and insist the installation did not follow Mijikenda traditional processes. Led by Sumanzai, the elders have issued a 14-day ultimatum to Mwakwere and those involved in his installation to apologize to the Mijikenda community. They allege the move is politically motivated and risks selling out the interests of the Mijikenda people.
Kwa nini haya masuala ya umoja wa Mijikenda ambao mnazungumzia, mbona hamshirikishi viongozi wote waliteuliwa? Hapo kuna njama fiche, na tulijua kwamba kuna njama fiche. Si masuala ya umoja wa Mijikenda, ilikuwa ni masuala ya kisiasa. Msimu wa siasa kwa karibu, wamekuja na mbinu mpya wauze Mijikenda. Na jana ilidhihirika kwamba nilikuwa ni mbinu ya kuuza Mijikenda.
Kwa kusema ukweli, haukuwa katika njia ambayo iko katika mipangilio wa Mijikenda, kwa sababu usemaji wa Mijikenda unaenda kulingana na makaya 9. Kwa sababu hakuna kaya linaweza likatoa mtu aweze kulisemea, kwa sababu hizi kaya ziko kila kaya iko na desturi yake, isipokuwa mila ni moja ya Mijikenda. Kwa hivyo yale ambayo yalifanyika, yule bado tunamtambua kama msemaji wa Wadigo.
Ni kwa nini kila ikifika wakati wa siasa iko karibu ndio mnaitisha umoja wa Mijikenda? Na waomba tafadhalini tuheshimu makaya yetu na wazee wetu ili tupate amani katika maisha yetu.
Shughuli iliyotendeka jana ya kumwapisha Mwafulani sisi hatuitambui wala hatuiungi mkono. Sisi wazee wa makaya, sisi hatuna chama. Shughuli iliyofanyika jana ilikuwa ni chama cha Umwengawehu Association.
Sasa Emmanuel Ndongo atachukua usukani.
Oh, yeah, okay, some Swahili. I wasn't expecting that one. But no, we'll brush up on the Swahili. I need some more lessons, but we'll get there.
I'm not even sure what I said was actually...
Well,
we'll consult.
We'll see.
We'll
and
consult.
Maybe we'll be doing Nipasha. One of these.
Challenge. Lulu and Rashid. We should switch.
But yeah, so we'll see about that. But after the break, we have the sports coming up. We have that feature story that we promised earlier from Steve Shitera looking into the Talanta Stadium that is coming up, especially for AFCON in 2027. And of course, a bit more of the Africa Cup of Nations this year.
Start strong, save smart. Give your child a champion start to the school year. Naivas saves you money.
Welcome back. I'm Emmanuel Ndungu. Let's get into the sports news now. The 35th edition of the Africa Cup of Nations that is currently underway in Morocco has offered world-class facilities in the stadia being used. Alongside Uganda and Tanzania, Kenya will co-host the next edition of AFCON in 2027, with Nairobi aligning to host the opening and closing ceremonies. Key to achieving this is proper infrastructure, with stadia on the same level with what Morocco is offering. The iconic Talanta Stadium is now nearing completion, and as Steve Shitera reports, it is a blend of modern technology and rich cultural symbolism that makes it one of the best facilities on the continent.
What was once a plain open field known as the Poster Grounds along Gong Road later became Jamhuri Grounds in 2022, following its rehabilitation under retired President Uhuru Kenyatta to protect it from land grabbers. Today, that site has transformed into a striking architectural landmark rising in the heart of Nairobi.
Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania.
Winning the bid to co-host the 2027 AFCON
Akiliweka lile jembe sawia
gave fresh impetus to the construction of a brand new stadium. President William Ruto officially launched the Talanta Stadium project in March 2024.
Dr. William Samuel Ruto
and announced the stadium will be ready by December 2025. 18 months later, construction stands at 72% complete. The finishing works are ongoing, including the installation of 8 shields that will form the stadium's entry plazas, according to the architectural plan. 2 of the shields are already in place, giving the stadium a distinctive and outstanding look. The shield, spears, and national colors reflect Kenya's rich heritage, symbolizing unity among the country's diverse ethnic communities under a shared national identity and purpose. According to Major Victor Kinge, the fusion of culture and technology sets Talanta Stadium apart as one of the finest sporting facilities in the world.
On the Eastern Plaza, we've provided for a large fountain, which will be on the ground of the plaza. And this fountain is unique in the sense that it's a dancing fountain. So it will have water jets, which will be pumping water in the air at different rates. And it will also have lights. And this system will be automated such that when music is playing, the jets of water as well as the lights can be synchronized with the music.
The contractor has committed to delivering the stadium by March 2026, 3 months behind the initial timeline, citing expanded infrastructural design as the reason for the extension. President William Ruto's administration is delivering a FIFA-accredited stadium 38 years after the late President Daniel Toroitich arap Moi built Kasarani Stadium for the 1987 All-Africa Games, underscoring the government's renewed commitment to growing sports in Kenya.
By accompanying our promises with investment, the Talanta Sports City represents our determination in action to connect our youth to meaningful opportunities to explore their talent, give themselves an opportunity to train in modern facilities, and work with us towards winning the games that we are set out to engage in.
It was a very ambitious project, but at the same time, it is aspiring to what we want to become as a nation. And when you consider the standards that have been set by the governing bodies, that is CAF and FIFA, it is a requirement that you achieve for something greater than what you've seen locally. And I believe that is what the team here at Talanta have managed to achieve.
Once complete, President Ruto has announced plans to rename the facility to Raila Odinga International Stadium in honor of the late Right Honorable Raila Odinga, a passionate sports enthusiast who rarely missed Harambee Stars or Gor Mahia matches.
Mumesema ipatiwe jina la Raila Amolo Odinga International Stadium. Nimewasikiza na tukikamilisha tutafanya hivyo.
Talanta Stadium stands a better chance of hosting the opening and closing ceremonies of the 2027 Africa Cup of Nations, firmly placing Nairobi at the center of Africa's biggest football spectacle.
It's come the way of Ogam. Ogam turns left, fires home!
As co-hosts, Kenya, Uganda and Tanzania will automatically qualify for the tournament regardless of their performance in the qualifiers. Steve Shitera, Citizen Sports, Talanta Sports Stadium, Nairobi.